as we were looking at this January 6th certification, all of the options that were being discussed were problematic. And so I wanted to find a path that was consistent with the Constitution, consistent with the law, and that addressed these very real serious claims.
So, Juanita, what I can report is he outlines a plan to steal the election and then also says something was worse than that. Now, I can't say what's in his mind, but an investigator or someone in the DOJ probe might want to ask, oh, well, Senator, were those more problematic options that you referred to, did they include plans of violence or storming the Capitol? Did you know about that as early as January 2nd?
And who else were you talking to about it? Because what it's showing is that he clearly had a small group huddle, a large group huddle, whatever it was, he was talking to other people about it. Did that group include Trump, right? Like, this is stuff that the DOJ needs to dig into.
You just asked, and I'll let you finish, but to slow you down, you just asked another question an investigator wanted to know, which is, did you speak to anyone in the White House as of January 2nd? And this calls on the 2nd, so that means another day, two, or earlier than that, about proactive plans to storm the Capitol, which, of course, is a federal crime.
And we also have to remember that Trump was tweeting out January 6th is the day, right? He was sending that message out on social media as well. The other thing I have to question with Senator Cruz is he said he wanted a plan that was consistent with the Constitution, and creating a fake commission after you illegally obstruct the electoral votes of other states does not sound in line with the Constitution or his sworn duty to protect and defend it. So it's really questionable to have a sitting senator behaving that way. Highly questionable.
Yeah, the Constitution does say, for example, that people who are proven traitors can't run or hold office.
That part.
That part. It doesn't say, oh, but if you don't like the election results, you can make a fake commission. You are our leadoff guest on a big news night here on the Beat, so I appreciate you being here. I have asked you to stay and join the next conversation, which is related. I want to actually bring in Jerry Filipados, who's Abby Grossberg's lawyer, who I mentioned earlier with Nicole and was on MSNBC, and is the source, as we mentioned, we're being transparent about this reporting for these tapes. Before we move into your case, what do you see as important about what is going on here with Cruz, either on his side or on the Fox side? And full disclosure, as we mentioned, you're suing Fox.
Absolutely. Well, I see a through line all the way from Senator Cruz and the tapes that we've shared with the American public and Mr. Navarro, all the way through Fox News, Tucker Carlson, and the Murdochs. The through line is a facility with falsehood, a reckless arrogance that does not value the truth, and a naked, dare I say, lust for power. Power that does not regard humanity, power that does not regard women, power that does not regard our Constitution and our American way of life. Didn't have time to look it up before I came on, but there's a saying that I remember from my childhood: truth, justice, and the American way. I don't know where that comes from, but I know it's something that was never, if I could guess, ever uttered in the halls of Fox News.
You didn't have time to look it up. Have you been busy this week?
I've been a little busy, yeah.
Yeah. Let me play one other Cruz tape and then turn to your client, as mentioned.
Sure.
Now, this is earlier. I reminded viewers, if some of this is familiar, that you have also furnished, through your lawsuit and the materials that you have, something that really slam dunks the fact that Cruz was early on aware that they didn't have the goods. They didn't have the evidence. They weren't going to be able to win these court cases. Let's take a listen to that.
Do you think that this has the potential of overturning the results?
It depends on what facts they find. It depends on whether they find credible evidence of fraud, what extent, if they do find evidence of fraud, to what extent the fraud occurred, and to what extent that impacted the results in any particular state. That is a factual question that I think shouldn't be decided based on internet and Twitter rumors.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Your response?
Well, I think were I to ever fantasize about cross-examining Mr. Cruz, I might ask him, you mean the evidence of fraud that you're looking for that you've already admitted doesn't exist? And if you're engaging in such a fanciful effort, why are you doing that? Are you doing it to facilitate some greater objective, maybe some greater objective that you have some concert with the person you're talking to, an employee of Fox News? I don't know. But these are certainly questions that need to be asked and need to be answered. The big lie is never going to be fully understood until we have the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
And until we do, it's just going to continue, and the big grift continues to this day.
Yeah, it's interesting when you put it at that altitude, because you're linking what they call the big lie with the defamation at Fox, which is now in serious tumult, and then the other allegations that Nicole and I were discussing with your client as well. I want to mention, I said we afforded Fox the opportunity to respond to the Cruz tapes. They did not. We also afforded them the opportunity to respond to your client, and they did. And so I do want to read that. They say that they're vigorously defending this case that you are litigating. They say Ms. Grossberg's legal claims are, quote, unmeritorious, riddled with false allegations against both Fox and their current employees. That's part of their response. As you know, your client, Ms. Grossberg, did speak to MSNBC today to my colleague, Nicole Wallace. Many people saw that recently. I want to play a brief part.
Sure.
Have you been contacted by Smartmatic?
Yes.
And you've shared all the Otter recordings with them or whatever?
I've been subpoenaed. We haven't shared anything yet.
That goes to how there's so much open pressure. But for folks who may not have seen that entire interview, and now you have her speaking out, but Mr. Carlson abruptly removed from Fox, what is it that you want to convey through this case to the public? And what exactly was done wrong to her from a legal perspective?
Thank you, Ari. I'll be as brief as I can. I think the most important thing to understand about Ms. Grossberg's case, that it's a case that really speaks to what goes on when you have the natural power imbalance that occurs in the workplace. Always employers have greater power over employees. That's natural. But when that power imbalance is nuclearized and weaponized by this malicious intent to really use people, to abuse people, and in the service of an industry, we've found now through the lawsuit in Dominion, and we will soon find, I'm sure, through the lawsuit in Smartmatic, it's an industry at Fox News that trades on lies. They lie to their own audience. They lie often to each other, and they certainly lie and try to destroy those who challenge them. That's what Abby Grossberg did, because she had no other chance. Because not only was she the victim of gender discrimination in the terms of not being promoted to the position she should have had, but then she was subjected to one of the most vile hostile work environments I've ever seen in my 31 years of practice. And it's last thing I'll just say, I was just going to say.
Well, it won't be the last thing, because I'll jump in.
Okay.
I got to do that.
Go ahead.
She mentioned subpoenas. You've mentioned the authorities. Has the special counsel, Jack Smith, been in contact with you?
I've been contacted by several law enforcement authorities. We have surrendered the descriptions of all of the tapes we have, and we are in the process of working out targeted subpoenas to give those tapes over, so that we are certain that no matter what happens in our case, all of the truth gets out.
Is the DOJ one of those entities?
Yes.
And is it the special counsel?
It would be the special counsel, yes.
Interesting. And they contacted you first?
Yes.
So, again, I know that you have to navigate this a certain way, but is your understanding or supposition that they think there is material there related to January 6th activities that they want to have as evidence?
Look, I want to be absolutely circumspect, because I don't want to do anything to in any way violate whatever representations I've made to the special counsel's office, or to in any way inhibit their investigation.
Understood.
Obviously, we know the subject matter of many of the tapes that we've released, and it has to do with operatives, in broad terms, operatives of the Republican Party and the Trump campaign.
And the government side. I mean, I understand how careful you have to be, but the government side here would seem to be implicated with some of the politicians we've talked about, Senator Cruz, you mentioned Navarro.
Right.
I don't know what others might also be buried in there. You're kind of making some news right now, Juanita. I wonder your reaction to knowing that the special counsel wants this evidence.
It aligns with what I mentioned before, Ari. This is the avenue for them to dig into, to continue not only the January 6th investigation, but identify which members of Congress, sitting members of Congress, were actively involved in planning. What the plans were that Ted Cruz described were worse options than the violent attack on January 6th, as well as the coordinated effort to obstruct electoral vote counts, right? This is the avenue that I hope produces a realistic picture of the fact that Trump might have been orchestrating a lot of this, but the Republican Party was likely involved deeply.
Yeah. Juanita Tolliver on more than one aspect of this. Jerry Filipatos, again, I want to remind viewers, we gave Fox the chance to respond there. We gave Ted Cruz that chance. He would get the time you got. But, Jerry, thank you for joining us. Up ahead tonight, Jerry mentioned Peter Navarro. We actually have news on him as he awaits trial. And we go deeper into the Tucker part of this. We just spent time on these newly revealing tapes that we now learn for the first time on this program. The special counsel investigating the January 6th insurrection and coup is pursuing. Well, then we also get into the Tucker Carlson of it all. That's next.